If you are reading these words right now, it is not coincidence. Something inside you clicked on this message before your mind could even process why. That instinct, that pull you just felt, that is your spirit recognizing what your soul has been searching for. The enemy has been in overdrive against you lately, and there is only one reason for his relentless attacks. He has witnessed what heaven placed inside you, and he knows that the moment you fully awaken to your true identity, his entire strategy against your life disintegrates instantly. Everything shifts in the next 24 hours. Not because of chance, not because of wishful thinking, but because of what you have already survived. The confusion you have carried, the isolation that has marked your journey, the persistent feeling that you have never quite belonged anywhere. None of it was random. Listen closely, because this is the revelation that changes everything. It is not shifting because the universe finally decided to be kind. It is shifting because you made decisions in the dark that are about to produce fruit in the light. The standards you refused to compromise when everyone else was bending. The integrity you maintained when no one was watching. The voice you refused to silence even when staying quiet would have been easier. Think about that moment this week when you were sitting in a room full of people and suddenly felt like you were watching everything from behind glass. You looked around at the conversations, the laughter, the connections happening around you, and something inside you went absolutely still. Maybe you thought it was loneliness. Maybe you convinced yourself you had somehow ended up in the wrong life, but here is what you did not know in that moment. That stillness was not isolation. That was your gift activating in real time. That was discernment, protecting you from settling for less than what God has prepared. You did not stumble onto this message. The algorithm is not that smart. This is a divine appointment written into your story before you took your first breath. You are standing at a threshold right now, and what happens in the next few minutes will determine whether you step through it or turn back. Stay until the end, because I am going to reveal the specific marking that separates you from everyone else walking this planet. I am going to hand you the spiritual blueprint that finally makes sense of every season that broke you. And at the end, I am going to give you the declaration that seals the door on the old version of yourself forever. Do not leave before the decree. Your future depends on what you receive today. I know exactly what the last few days have felt like. The atmosphere has not just been heavy, it has been strange, like the world kept spinning, and something inside you just stopped turning with it. You have been lying awake at night, running the same mental loops, asking yourself why you feel so displaced in spaces that should feel familiar. Why relationships that used to fit now feel like wearing someone else's clothes. You have been surrounded by people, yet feeling more alone than you have ever felt. Not because something is broken in you, but because you have never been able to explain the weight you carry to anyone around you. The depth, the knowing, the sense that you were designed for something that has not manifested yet. You feel suspended between what was and what is supposed to be, waiting for a life that was promised but not yet delivered. And in that suspension, the enemy has been whispering one specific lie on repeat. He has been telling you that the reason you feel different is because something is fundamentally wrong with you. He has been replaying every moment of rejection, every room that could not hold you, every person who looked at you like you were either too intense or not enough. He has been using your uniqueness as evidence against you, convincing you that what God placed inside you is actually a defect, that you are not chosen, just strange, not set apart, just disconnected. But Scripture destroys that lie completely. Jeremiah 1-5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you before you were born, I set you apart." Let that sink in. Before you were born, before you made a single choice, before you succeeded or failed at anything, God already knew you, already separated you, already looked at billions of souls and said that one is mine in a different way. The enemy cannot argue with what was decided before you existed. He cannot use your past to overturn a verdict written before you had one. You are not different because you are broken. You are different because you are designated. The loneliness you have been carrying is not punishment. It is preparation. The spaces that rejected you were not failures. They were divine redirections. Every room that felt wrong was actually protecting you from a path that would have required you to shrink. You thought that feeling of not belonging was a wound. But let me reframe your entire reality. That was not abandonment. That was architecture. God was building something in the isolation that crowds would have destroyed. You are not behind schedule. You are being perfected. If this is landing somewhere deep, drop a comment and let me know. Type designated if you are feeling this shift right now. Your testimony might be exactly what someone else needs to see today. Most people hear the word chosen and immediately think of the crown without understanding the consecration that preceded it. They want the palace without acknowledging the pit. They desire the promotion without honoring the process. But you are not most people, and God did not bring you here to give you a watered-down version of your own story. This designation is not a lottery. It is a setting apart. And when God sets something apart, He does it for a reason that goes deeper than your comfort, deeper than your convenience, deeper than your current understanding. He is building something in you that the world has never seen before. Consider Joseph, a man who carried a dream that made no sense to anyone around him. His own family mocked him for it, called him arrogant, sold him into slavery because of it. He spent 13 years between the pit and the prison, forgotten by everyone except God. Betrayed by his brothers, falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, overlooked by the cupbearer who promised to remember him. 13 years of silence, 13 years of waiting, 13 years of wondering if he had heard God wrong. But here is what Joseph understood that you need to understand right now. The pit was not punishment, the pit was preparation. The prison was not abandonment. The prison was the palace under construction. Every year of delay was actually a year of development. Every season of isolation was actually a season of installation. God was installing something in Joseph that could not be installed in comfort. He was building a capacity in the hidden place that would one day save nations. Think about where Joseph ended up. He went from the pit to becoming second in command of the most powerful empire on earth. But that promotion did not happen because he finally got lucky. It happened because 13 years in obscurity built something in him that could handle the weight of that kind of authority. The betrayal taught him discernment. The prison taught him patience. The delay taught him dependence on God. And when Pharaoh finally called for him, Joseph did not walk into that throne room as a broken slave. He walked in as a man who had been refined in the fire, a man who knew who he was regardless of his circumstances, a man whose identity was not tied to his position but to his purpose. Every season that isolated you, every betrayal that crushed you, every delay that frustrated you, every door that slammed in your face, none of it was wasted. It was all building something in you that could not be built in comfort. You think you have been sidelined, but you have been in the furnace. And what comes out of that furnace does not look like everyone else because it was refined differently. The very thing the enemy used to try to destroy you, God is about to use as the foundation of your authority. Think about that carefully. Your greatest pain is about to become your greatest platform. Your deepest wound is about to become your most powerful weapon. The story you tried to hide is about to become the testimony that sets others free. And if you have felt it, if something in your spirit just responded to that truth, do me a favor. Hit that like button right now so this message can reach someone else who needs to hear it today. You might be the bridge that gets this word to the person who is one click away from giving up. Your click matters more than you know. Let me show you another picture of this. Think about David, a shepherd boy who spent years in the fields talking to sheep, worshipping God where nobody could see him, developing a relationship with heaven that nobody knew about. His own father did not even think to call him when the prophet Samuel showed up looking for the next king. When Samuel asked if there were any more sons, Jesse basically said, "Oh yeah, there is one more, but he is just out with the sheep." He is not king material, but here is what Jesse did not understand. What looked like obscurity was actually preparation. What looked like being overlooked was actually being set apart. While David was in the field, he was not being forgotten. He was being formed. He was learning to fight lions and bears with his bare hands. He was learning to worship in the secret place. He was learning that his validation did not come from his father's recognition, but from his father's voice. And when the moment came, when Goliath stood in the valley mocking the armies of Israel, nobody else could step into that moment except David. Not because he had the most training, not because he had the best armor, not because he had the most impressive resume, but because he had spent years in the secret place, developing something that the visible soldiers did not have. He had intimacy with God. He had proven faithfulness in the small things. He had a testimony that nobody knew about until the moment demanded it. I killed a lion, I killed a bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine is going to be like one of them because he has defied the armies of the living God. That is what happens in the hidden place. That is what happens when you stop performing for people and start developing your relationship with God in secret. You build a foundation that cannot be shaken. You develop a confidence that does not need external validation. You cultivate a power that people cannot understand because they did not see the process. And when your moment comes, when the giant that nobody else can face shows up in your life, you do not step into that moment as someone who is hoping it works out. You step in as someone who has already seen God show up in the secret battles. Someone who knows that the same God who delivered you from the lion and the bear will deliver you from this giant too. Your hidden season is not a holding pattern. It is a training ground. The obscurity you have been in is not punishment. It is preparation. And the giant you are about to face is not going to defeat you. It is going to establish you. Because when you defeat the giant that everyone else feared, when you step into the battle that everyone else ran from, when you carry the anointing that was developed in secret into the public moment, that is when the world sees what God has been building all along. That is when the palace recognizes what the field already knew. You were never forgotten. You were being formed. Now, let me show you what happens when you finally stop arguing with heaven about your identity. Moses could not lead a nation while clinging to his identity as a stuttering shepherd hiding in the desert. He had to let that version of himself die, not because God rejected his past, but because God was speaking a new reality over him. And even with the burning bush and the voice of God thundering in front of him, Moses resisted. He gave God every reason why he was the wrong choice. Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh? Who am I that I should bring the Israelites out of Egypt? I am slow of speech and tongue. I have failed before. I killed a man. I ran away. I am not qualified. And what was God's response to every single excuse? He was not moved, not by one word. Why? Because God does not choose based on your resume. He does not choose based on your eloquence or your credentials or your confidence level. He chooses based on the deposit He placed inside you before your resume existed. Your limitations are dust to the one who called you by name before the foundations of the world. For too long, you have been offering God your list of reasons why you are unqualified. And all this time, He has been looking past every single one, straight through every excuse, directly to the designation He placed on you. The question is not whether God sees you. He sees you more clearly than you see yourself. The real question is, are you ready to agree with how He sees you? Are you ready to stop arguing with heaven about your own worth? Because that agreement, that willingness to let go of the smaller story you have been telling yourself, that is the threshold you have been searching for. It is not a feeling that is going to sweep over you one day. It is not a sign in the sky. It is not another person validating you. It is the moment you stop fighting with heaven about your worth and you simply say, I am who you say I am. I receive what you have spoken over me. I agree with your verdict. And from that place of agreement, everything changes. When you align your identity with God's declaration over you, doors that were locked suddenly swing open. Opportunities that seemed impossible suddenly become available. Relationships that were toxic suddenly lose their hold. You stop trying to fit into spaces that were never designed for you. You stop apologizing for taking up room. You stop dimming your light to make other people comfortable. You start walking in the fullness of who you were created to be, and the right people, the right opportunities, the right assignments start finding you instead of you chasing them. But here is what you need to understand about this next season you are stepping into. The breakthrough is not just about what you are gaining, it is about what you are finally releasing. For years, you have been carrying weights that were never yours to carry. Expectations from people who never understood your assignment. Guilt from seasons where you did the best you could with what you knew. Shame from mistakes that God already forgave, but you kept replaying. Comparison to people who are running a completely different race. All of that has to go. You cannot step into the new carrying the old. You cannot walk in freedom while dragging chains you have already been released from. This is where spiritual warfare gets real. Because the moment you start agreeing with heaven about your identity, the moment you start walking in the fullness of who you were created to be, the enemy escalates. He does not escalate because you are doing something wrong. He escalates because you are doing something right. He escalates because he knows that the version of you that is about to emerge is the version he has been terrified of all along. A version that walks in authority, a version that knows who they are, a version that cannot be manipulated by guilt or intimidated by fear. A version that is so anchored in God's word that the enemy's lies do not even register anymore. So when the attacks intensify, when the warfare gets heavier, when it feels like everything is falling apart, right when you thought it was all coming together, do not misread the moment. That is not evidence that you are off track. That is confirmation that you are right on time. The enemy only fights this hard when he knows he is about to lose. He only throws everything he has at you when he sees you stepping into something he cannot stop. So instead of backing down, instead of second-guessing, instead of retreating into the old pattern, you push forward. You keep speaking the truth. You keep declaring your identity. You keep walking in obedience even when it does not make sense. Because on the other side of this warfare is a level of freedom you have never experienced before. Think about what is about to shift in your life. Relationships that have been draining you for years are about to release you. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped tolerating what God never assigned. Doors that have been closed, no matter how hard you knocked, are about to swing open. Not because you finally figured out the right formula, but because you stepped into alignment with divine timing. Resources that seemed impossible to access are about to become available, not because you manipulated circumstances, but because you positioned yourself in the place of obedience. Clarity that you have been begging for is about to flood in, not because you finally got smart enough to figure it out, but because you stopped trying to understand everything and started trusting the one who already knows. This is not hype. This is not motivational fluff to make you feel better for a few minutes. This is prophetic declaration over your life, and the difference between a prophetic word and empty encouragement is this. A prophetic word does not just make you feel good, it activates something in you. It aligns you with what heaven has already spoken. It gives you language for what your spirit already knows, but your mind has not caught up to yet. And when that word lands in the soil of a surrendered heart, it produces fruit that lasts. So let me tell you what is required of you now. Not to earn this, not to qualify for this, but to steward what is already yours. First, you have to guard your mind like never before. The enemy knows he is losing ground, so he is going to come after your thought life with everything he has. He is going to whisper that nothing has changed. He is going to point to your circumstances and try to convince you that what you just received was just words. He is going to replay old failures and try to talk you out of your new identity. And you have to be ready for that. You have to have scriptures locked and loaded. You have to have declarations written out. You have to know what God said about you so well that when the lie shows up, you recognize it immediately and shut it down. Second, you have to start moving differently. You cannot receive a new identity and keep living the old lifestyle. You cannot declare that you are set apart and keep entertaining relationships that pull you back into compromise. You cannot say you are breaking cycles and keep running the same patterns. Something has to shift in your practical life. Maybe that means you need to change who you are spending time with. Maybe that means you need to change what you are consuming. Maybe that means you need to set boundaries you have been too afraid to set. Maybe that means you need to have the hard conversation you have been avoiding. Whatever it is, you know what it is. And obedience in the small thing unlocks the breakthrough in the big thing. Third, you have to resist the urge to go back to what is familiar when things get uncomfortable. Because they will get uncomfortable. Growth always is. You are going to have moments where the old life looks easier than the new life, where fitting in looks more appealing than standing out, where going back to Egypt looks better than pressing forward into the promised land. And in those moments, you have to remember why you left. You have to remember what it cost to get to this point. You have to remember that the God who brought you out is the same God who is leading you in. And you have to keep walking even when you cannot see the full picture yet. Fourth, you have to start speaking your future into existence, not as manifestation, not as positive thinking, but as prophetic declaration. You have to start calling things that are not as though they are, the same way God does. You have to start declaring breakthrough over your finances, even when the bank account looks empty. You have to start declaring healing over your body, even when the symptoms are still there. You have to start declaring restoration over your relationships, even when it looks impossible. Because your words have power, and when your words align with God's word, they create the atmosphere for miracles to happen. And fifth, you have to be willing to walk alone for a season, if that is what it takes. Not everyone is going to understand this shift. Not everyone is going to celebrate your growth. Some people are going to be threatened by the version of you that refuses to shrink anymore. Some people are going to try to pull you back into the old dynamic because your freedom makes them uncomfortable, and you have to love them enough to let them go. You have to honor what was without letting it hold you hostage. You have to be willing to walk into the new season, even if you have to walk into it by yourself at first. Because the right people will find you when you are in the right place. And the assignment God has for you is too important to delay because you are afraid of being alone. Before we continue, I want to pause and share something from my heart. What you are receiving right now, this message, this ministry, it exists because people in this community choose to support it. Every video we create, every word we release, every life that gets touched. It happens because people like you partner with what God is doing here. If this message has shifted something in you today, if you feel a pull in your spirit to be part of helping us reach more people with this truth, there is a link in the description. No pressure, no obligation, just an invitation. Whether you can give $5 or $500, it all matters. And if you are in a season where you cannot give financially, your prayers and your shares mean just as much. You are part of this family. Either way, you are valued here. You belong here, and we are grateful you are here. Now, I want you to do something with me. Place your hand on your heart right now. Feel that beat, that steady rhythm. That is not random biology. That is not just your cardiovascular system doing its job. That is the rhythm of a purpose that predates your birth. That is the sound of a destiny that was written before you took your first breath. And from that place, with your hand on your heart, I want you to speak these words with me. Not as a wish, not as a hope, not as something you are trying to convince yourself of, but as a declaration over the life God already decided was yours. I release every agreement I made with the lie. I release every contract I signed with fear. I release the identity that was built by rejection, shaped by other people's opinions, and refined by my own insecurities. I renounce every label that was ever placed on me by people who did not have the authority to define me. Broken too much, not enough. Damaged, delayed, forgotten, overlooked, disqualified. I cast them all off like old clothes that never fit. I received the verdict that was written over me before I drew my first breath. I am designated, I am set apart. I am consecrated for a purpose that is bigger than my pain. I am being finished, not abandoned. I am being refined, not rejected. I am being prepared, not punished. I open my hands wide and I release control of the timeline. I surrender my need to know how and when and where. I walk into the fire of this season without fear because I know I do not walk alone. The Son of God walks with me through every flame. I break every repeating cycle, not by fighting harder, but by breaking agreement with its root. I reject the lie that I am cursed. I reject the lie that I am behind. I reject the lie that I have missed my moment, and I step forward today. In this moment, as the person God saw when He first spoke my name into existence, as the person He designed before any earthly wound touched me, as the person He has been preparing for this exact moment, my confusion is lifting like morning fog. My isolation was not abandonment, it was architecture. My suffering was not meaningless. It was tuition for a level I could not reach any other way, and my breakthrough is not somewhere in the future. It is here. It is now. It is happening in this moment as I align my mouth with heaven's decree. I receive it now. I step into it now. I walk forward now, and I make a vow before heaven and earth that I will never apologize for the full expression of who I am ever again. I will never shrink to make others comfortable. I will never dim my light to fit in a room that was not designed for me. I am who God says I am, and that is enough. That has always been enough. That will always be enough. If this message confirms something your spirit already knew, if something broke open in you while you were watching this, I want to hear about it. Drop a comment right now and tell me what shifted. Share this with one person who needs to hear it today. Someone came to mind while you were watching. You know who they are. Send it to them. And subscribe if you have not already, because this is just the beginning. There is more coming, more revelation, more breakthrough, more truth. The community here is full of people walking the same road you are walking. You are not alone in this. You have never been alone, and you never will be.